Verbs without object in transitive verbs. We said that verbs have two types: transitive verbs, the verbs that have an object, and intransitive verbs, the verbs that doesn't have an object. الأفعال تنقسم إلى قسمين: أفعال متعدية اللي اسمها transitive verbs have an object، لديها object مفعول به. هسه راح نشوف intransitive verb، الأفعال غير المتعدية اللي ما تملك مفعول به. Intransitive verbs are used without an object، ما بيها object. For example, I can't sleep، لا أستطيع النوم. أنا اللي هي subject. can't auxiliary verb، then المودل verb كانوا جماعتهم نسميهم auxiliary verbs، أفعال مساعدة. sleep النوم، I can't sleep لا أستطيع النوم. everyone is a subject. was an auxiliary verb فعل مساعد. waiting ينتظر هو الفعل الرئيسي. everyone was waiting، الجميع ينتظر. but he didn't care، لكن هو لم يهتم. I didn't care، he didn't care. الفعل care هو intransitive verb ما يحتاج مفعول به. نفس الشيء الفعل waiting ما يحتاج مفعول به، والفعل sleep. other include أفعال أخرى اللي هي intransitive: arrive، depart، disappear، happen، hesitate، occur، fuse، rain. We use intransitive verbs when we talk about simple events, action and sounds. شو وقت نستخدم intransitive verb؟ من نحكي عن أحداث بسيطة أو نحكي عن actions and sounds. For examples, the roof collapsed. انهار السقف، حدث بسيط وما يحتاج مفعول به. she sighed and yawned. a lot of people were screaming. all of these verbs are intransitive verbs, therefore they didn't follow by an object. The roof, in the first sentence, the roof is an intransitive verb. The roof is the subject, and yes, so we say that the roof is the subject of the sentence، هو الفاعل مال الجملة. collapsed انهار هو الفعل الverb، وهو intransitive verb فعل لازم ما يحتاج انه يأتي بعده object. she sighed and yawned. هي sighed، هي تنهدت، and yawned تثاوبت. تنهدت and تثاوبت. هذه الأفعال أفعال لازمة لا تحتاج إلى مفعول به بعدها، لذلك نسميها intransitive verb. a lot of people here is the subject of the sentence، هو subject الفاعل. were auxiliary verb فعل مساعد. screaming هو المين verb الفعل الرئيسي. a lot of people were screaming، الكثير من الناس كانوا يصرخون. هنا الفعل screaming يصرخون is an intransitive verb فعل لازم غير متعدي، ما يحتاج انه يأتي بعده مفعول به. كل واحد من هذه الأفعال اللي هي collapsed, sighed, yawned, screaming describe simple events, actions and sounds. الساوندز الأصوات هي yawned and sighed. signed and yawned يعتبرون شنو sounds أصوات. الأكشنز الأحداث هو screaming الصراخ. simple event the roof is collapsed. other includes أفعال أخرى تعتبر intransitive هي cough, faint, fail, grovel, omen, scream, shiver, sneeze. Intransitive verbs are not used in the passive. We can't use an intransitive verb in the passive. You may ask why we can't use an intransitive verb in the passive. Who can answer this question? Why we can't use an intransitive verbs or put an intransitive verbs in the passive form? It is easy because passive form required an object to take the place or to replace the subject. So since an intransitive verb doesn't have a subject, an object, sorry, doesn't have an object, we can't put an intransitive verbs in passive form. The thief escaped. The thief here is the subject. Escape is the object. هرب اللص. إذا جينا نحول الجملة المبنية للمجهول شو نقول؟ إذا حذفنا the thief بقت بس escape. ما إحنا نحتاج شنو؟ نحتاج object حتى يحل محل السبجكت بالمبني للمجهول. فهنا ما نقدر نستخدم intransitive verbs بالpassive، مستحيل. We often use a prepositional phrase. We often use a prepositional phrase after intransitive verbs. نفس transitive verb. احنا ايش قلنا بعد transitive verbs نقدر نستخدم prepositional phrase. عبارات جار ومجرور. مثل لما قلنا he puts the keys on the tables. هنا هنا راح نستخدم ال prepositional phrase بعد ال intransitive verbs. After intransitive verbs especially verbs describe movement وخصوصا الأفعال اللي تدل على what movement حركة. Darwin died in 1882. I slept until noon. They are kneeling on mats and praying to God. It came from Agrinta. Let's go to bed. We walk to the park and then we run around it. These examples, all the verbs in these examples are in a transitive verb. So they followed by a prepositional phrase. If we go to the first sentence, Darwin died and stop, Darwin مات. Okay, ها هي الجملة تامة المعنى. فإحنا عندنا ال prepositional phrase in 1882 هذه تعتبر complement وهي فتشي اختياري. إذا حذفناه ما راح يأثر هواي على معنى الجملة. I slept أني نمت. أوكي جملة تامة المعنى ومفهومة. Until noon هذه prepositional phrase. دائما ال prepositional phrase مبدوءة بماذا؟ مبدوءة بحرف جر. فإن هنا حرف جر، until هنا حرف جر. They are kneeling on. هنا they هي subject الفاعل. are auxiliary verb. Kneeling is the main verb. On هنا a preposition حرف جر. On mats and praying to God, all of this is a is a prepositional phrase عبارة جار ومجرور. It came from Argonita. هنا from هي preposition حرف جار. Let's go to the bed. Let's go جملة تامة المعنى. To bed to هي preposition حرف جار. To bed هي تعتبر prepositional phrase. نفس الشيء to the park. Yes. So here what we understand from verb plus object is the coming rule. القاعدة اللي نستخدمها من يكون الجملة مالتنا الفيرب المين فيرب مالتها هو intransitive verb. الجملة تكون عبارة عن subject plus راح اللي نخليه between two brackets هو اختياري auxiliary verb plus main verb plus prepositional phrase. فهذه القاعدة اللي نعتمدها من يكون الverb مالتنا intransitive verb. يعني شنو intransitive verb؟ intransitive verb doesn't have an object. Transitive verb doesn't have an object. What's meant by transitive verb? Intransitive verbs intransitive verbs doesn't have intransitive verbs don't have an object. Doesn't have an object. الترانسيتيف verbs ما يجي بعده object. شي يجي بعده؟ قد يجي بعده prepositional phrase. شنو يعني prepositional phrase؟ هي عبارة الجر. شنو لازم يكون عبارة الجر؟ تحتوي على شنو؟ تحتوي على حروف جر. حروف جر مثل شنو؟ in on to until and so on. باقي حروف الجر. examples على الترانسيتيف verbs. أمثلة على الترانسيتيف verb. الفعل sleep أكثر فعل مشهور هو الفعل sleep. هو فعل intransitive غير متعدي. طبعا احنا إذا قلنا الأفعال مو دائما هي transitive يعني هو مثلا الفعل sleep مو اغلب الاحيان يكون transitive بس مو كل situations يكون transitive. عندنا الفعل arrive كذلك الفعل yawned sighed and so on. All the mentioned verbs here should be remembered. So you should keep in mind that these verbs sleep, wait, care, arrive, depart, disappear, happen, hesitate, occur, abuse, rain, collapse, signed, yawned, screaming, escape, die, slept, kneeling, walk, go and come all came are all in a transitive verb. but also not in all situations. مو بكل الأحوال، مو بكل المواقف يكونون intransitive. أحيانا يجون transitive. Now we will talk about verbs used with and without objects. أفعال تستخدم مع أو بدون الأوبجكتس المفعول به. We can use some verbs such as eat or read with objects or without objects. أكو أفعال نستخدمها مع الأوبجكت المفعول به، قايل مثل كلمة eat، مثل كلمة read، مثل دائما ذني يجي بعدهم object. أفعال ما تجي وياها object، منطينا أمثلة على الاثنين. she read، إذا قلنا she read وسكتنا الجملة حتكون غير تامة. what she is reading، شنو قاعد تقرأ؟ she read his notes، هي تقرأ الملاحظة، ملاحظته. فهنا الفعل شنو نسميه؟ transitive. لو اني transitive بما انه الجملة ما تمت الا بعد ان ضفنا his notes، فread هو transitive verb. I don't eat، اذا قلت اني ما اكل وسكتت الجملة غير تامة المعنى. بس اذا قلت I don't eat fish الجملة صارت تامة المعنى. فالجملة احتاجت مفعول به، فالإيت هو transitive verb. نفس الشيء للفعل won والفعل speak، اثنيناتهم يعتبرون transitive verb، أفعال متعدية، لأنه يحتاجون بعدهم مفعول به حتى يتم معناهم. He always reads when he is eating. He always reads when he is eating. When he is eating he is read. He always read. إذا قلنا he always read، هسه خلينا نشيل when he is eating. إذا قلنا he always reads، هو دائما يقرأ، جملة تامة المعنى. فالفعل reads هنا محتاج object، فمثل ما قلنا هنا transitive وهنا اجى intransitive. نفس الفعل هو read. هذا شلون يجي عنا السؤال؟ يقول she reads his notes and he always reads. شنو الفرق بين الجملتين؟ الجملتين read بالجملة الأولى هو transitive verb، فعل متعدي، because he needs an object after it to make a clear and meaningful sentence. While in the second situation he always reads, the verb reads is intransitive because because it doesn't need an object to complete the sentence. The sentence is fully comprehending and meaningful, and we don't need an object, so the verb is intransitive verb. When he is eating، when he is eating عندما يأكل. when he is eating، when he is eating، he is eating هو يأكل. here the sentence is what? the sentence is complete and meaningful، الجملة تامة ومعناها مفهوم. إذن الفعل eat in this situation is intransitive غير متعدي. did you win؟ هل فزت؟ did you win؟ نفس الحالة هنا الفعل win فعل intransitive غير متعدي، لأنه محتاج مفعول به بهذه situation. she was so upset she couldn't speak. she couldn't speak، هي ما تقدر تحكي because she was upset. the main sentence she couldn't speak، هي لا تستطيع الكلام. she هي subject، couldn't auxiliary verb، speak تتحدث هو المين verb. فالجملة للverb ووقفت بعد ما بيها تكملة. إذا هاي intransitive verb. الفعل speak بهذا situation هو intransitive. عكس السيتويشن اللي قبلها do you speak English؟ هل تتحدث الإنجليزية؟ أو you speak English أنت تتحدث الإنجليزية. فهنا في الجملة الأولى الفعل speak كان transitive يحتاج مفعول به. بالجملة الثانية she couldn't speak الفعل speak intransitive لا يحتاج مفعول به. نفس الشيء when we say we won the match did you win؟ بالحالتين الحالة الأولى when هي transitive verb، بالحالة الثانية when is intransitive verb. other include أفعال أخرى تكون مرات transitive ومرات intransitive مثل cook draw dress drink drive heart paint spread study write. So these subjects should be these verbs should be kept in mind. You should remember them. لازم تحفظيهم as verbs that have sometimes have a subject. In other situations they don't have subject. Okay. There are some verbs such as die or smile. أكو أفعال مثل die and smile that we usually use without an object. بالعادة نستخدمهم without an object. مثل قبل شوية الجملة Darwin died Darwin مات. الجملة ما تحتاج object عملناها على أنه هي transitive verb. That yes and smile also she smiled هي ابتسمت. So الجملة ما تحتاج object that we usually use without an object. بالعادة die و smile نستخدمهم بدون object but لكن which can also be used with one particular object. نقدر بس أحيانا يعني بsituation معين بموقف معين نقدر نستخدمهم كترانسيتيف verb. أفعال متعدية have an object يجي بعدها object. For example Miss Reynolds smiled and said she was quite certain that none of us would ever die. So here Miss Reynolds smiled and said she was quite certain that none of us would ever die. Die here is intransitive. Smile is transitive. Nana smiled her bright smile. She seemed unconcerned that she might die a painful death. She might die a painful death. Here she might die a painful death. Die is a transitive verb. هو فعل متعدي. ليش هو قاعد يصف نوع الداي شلون حتموت بأي طريقة. a painful death موت مؤلم نعتبره هو الأوبجكت للفعل die. Other includes أفعال أخرى dance, dream, laugh, life, sigh. We can use some verbs such as fight or meet with objects. We can also use them without objects. We can use verbs such as fight, meet with object and without object after a plural subject, when each other or with each other is understood. When I met Sergio in Madrid, he embarrassed me like a brother. When I met Sergio in Madrid, I met Sergio. Here met is a transitive verb. it's followed by the object Sergio. He embarrassed me. Embarrassed is a transitive verb because it have the object me. John had to fight 2 thugs. John had to fight 2 thugs. Here fight is a transitive verb. We have 2 thugs as an object. We met in Rome. التقينا في روما. We met. التقينا. Met here is an any transitive verb. Met is any transitive verb because it doesn't require the object in this situation. He said that fight to met with object or without object. We can also use them without object after a plural subject when each other or with each other is understood. Our fingers touched. Our finger touched. Touched here is in a transitive verbs. The old woman embarrassed. المرأة العجوز أحرجت. Here the verb embarrassed is in a transitive verb فعل غير متعدي. They hugged and kissed. They hugged and kissed. Hugged and kissed are in a transitive verb. They didn't followed by an object. John and I always fight. Fight here is in a transitive verb. It doesn't follow by an object. 2 of Australia's major wine produced have emerged. Emerged here is in a transitive verb. فعل غير متعدي لأن الجملة تمت معناها وصارت مفهومة دون الحاجة إلى مفعول به بعدها. We have here some exercise about this topic. We can regard this exercise as a homework. This is your homework for the second lecture. Page number 7. If you didn't understand any points, please text me and we'll have a meet and discuss it again. So see you next lecture. Bye.